We've got some good news and we've got some bad news when it comes to a pair of high-profile video games. First and foremost, we've got Marvel's Wolverine, developed by the same team that did Spider-Man 2, that well-beloved sequel to an actually beloved game that is going to have the legacy of Deaf Black graffitiing and Peter B. Parker noping out of the series so that Miles Morales can attempt to become Spider-Man, even though he's still Miles Morales. The Wolverine game ends up, this is a benefit for them. It's addition by subtraction because the creative director is no longer on the project due to creative decisions around the game. Now, that could mean a multitude of things, right? Could mean that development is moving along too slowly and he's not exactly thrilled with what he's seeing. Or this could be the studio going, the last time that we tried all of this crap with Spider-Man 2, it cost $365 million and we have not recouped anywhere close enough to breaking even. So, we're just going to go ahead and scrap that and make, the Wolverine game that people want. We don't know for sure, and outside of a couple of teases and a few leaks, don't really know exactly what to expect on this one. But let's take a look with the news. Brian Horton, the former creative director for Insomniac's games, Marvel's Wolverine, what a cumbersome sentence that is to articulate, is no longer part of the project and has moved on to become the creative director for Xbox's upcoming Perfect Dark game. Oh shit. So if that giant-jawed game wasn't in enough problem to begin with, now it's going to have another problem over the top of it because this Perfect Dark reboot, bro, from the Initiative, which is like, who cares? But Crystal Dynamics, it's like, why Joanna Dark looks like that and doesn't look like the way that she used to back in the cut. Even with Perfect Dark Zero, when, she looked a little bit more blocky, that I guess, that jawline would have been a far more appropriate from an N64 game as opposed to a who know what the hell console or what's a Game Pass game. Okay, I think it's pretty safe on that one, what she's gonna look like there. But oh man, there's one good Perfect Dark game, and that came out in like 98 or 99. Maybe it was a little bit later than that because it was like Donkey Kong 64 and Perfect Dark. They used the expansion pack, and that was about it. And I think a Doom game, right? Anyways, this is just, it's not even rare, right? Because, Perfect Dark was, one of the many, many, many rare IPs that Microsoft bought up at the advent of Xbox that they've done such great work with. Oh my God, squandered. But again, this is another example of a studio that is not not what you remember them being, for all those Banjo-Kazooie games, Donkey Kong Country games, Battletoads, all of that. Rare, Rare's not Rare anymore. Rare is just an IP farm and an old logo that people can reminisce on and go, I remember Rare. You remember Rare? I remember Rare. But I wonder if we're going to hear anything more about this because this big announcement, right? Came out over the summer. I think this was this ahead of Summer Games Fest or something like that? It got announced then. And well, back in the day, this would have been fun, but now, this is going to be quintessential girl boss cringe, and especially with Crystal Dynamics in the fold. I mean, look at what they've done to Lara Croft. Do you think that Joanna Dark's going to fare any better? And especially with this pile of woke shit. I mean, bro, come on. According to Stephen Totillo at GameFile, oh my God, Horton left Marvel's Wolverine over the summer. Yes, after being with the project since 2021 with Horton out, Insomniac replaced him with Marcus Smith as a creative director, Mike Daly as the new game director. Cameron Christian, who was previously serving as the game director, will remain at Insomniac, but in a different role. Totillo claimed these moves are a result of creative decisions around the game. Well, people went and took a look at what Activision did back in the early 2010s. That Wolverine Origins tie-in game, which is dope as hell. And the game is gory and amazing and so much fun. It was a low anticipation, high return, hack and slash gore fest. It was so good. Because you know what? It knew exactly what it was and it delivered on that promise. When you see a Wolverine game, okay, what do you want to do? You want to slash people up, you want to cut people's heads off, you want to cut people's arms off, and you want to do it with a gruff-talking protagonist. And you might get a couple of X-Men tie-ins, okay? Jean Grey makes a lot of sense. Cyclops, Professor X, big boss battle with Sabretooth, a lot of that makes sense. You don't want to have Dragon Age the Veilguard presents Jean Grey. Bruh. What the fuck? Or having X23 braid your chest hair or whatever goofy shit you'll have on for a mini game so you can work in a female protagonist to show Wolverine's softer, gentler side. Yuck. Interestingly enough, the timing of these decisions also, appears to match up when Sweet Baby Inc. defender Mary Kenney, who was an associate narrative director working on Marvel's Wolverine, announced she left the project and joined CD Projekt RED. So this, man, for as much as I feel for Perfect Dark over there, I think your project was probably already cooked to begin with. So this just ends up compounding to the losses. This might actually be good for Insomniac because they have the propensity, they have the ability to create a good game because the game mechanics of Spider-Man 2, like if you could get past the obvious virtue signaling and Sweet Baby Inkness, like the mechanics were fun. It didn't quite hold a candle to the original. It's a much smaller and contained experience, but they have the ability to do something great. And as so, if you have ideologues in this that ended up removing themselves from this project because of creative differences, kind of gives me a little bit of hope, especially as somebody who was, at one point in time, a gigantic X-Men fan. I remember watching the animated series. It was one of those things, and I told this story when we were talking about the animated series, and its revival. Was that, that was earlier this year. Holy shit, nobody talks about that anymore, but it was so good at the time. That was one of those things that, my dad, my sister, and I, we would sit down and we would watch. And my dad had an old Crown Victoria that that was his work car. He'd drive it back and forth, and he had aspirations about, painting it blue and calling it the Beast. Those are some tender childhood memories. And of course, Wolverine was cool as hell. And then extrapolate that onto the Hugh Jackman interpretation. And no, I haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine, and I don't have any desire to ever see it because I heard how his character was handled and frankly butchered in Deadpool and Wolverine, and eventually people will come around to that. So would I like a good return to form for Wolverine? Absolutely. Could this be the avenue for that to happen? Potentially. Interestingly, yes, about the timing of this, and Kenny posted on LinkedIn back in early July, without further ado, I'm here to fuck up another studio, as if CD Projekt RED needs the help. As announced, my new job today with my first day as senior writer at CD Projekt RED, best known for The Witcher and Cyberpunk. Yes, because if you're announcing that to people and they don't know what CD Projekt RED is, if they need those hints, they might be retarded. That's like saying, hi, I got a job working at Rockstar. You might have heard of the game that they work on. It's armed robbery simulator. She added, I can't wait to talk more about my project. I'm thrilled to be getting back into RPGs, and my team is talented, welcoming, and just flat out cool. Here's to a new adventure. The fact that she got brought in as a senior writer after working as an underling on an otherwise unrealized project just kind of lets me know how cooked CDPR is. Before this announcement, Kenny had made it clear in an interview with DualShockers her main goal in the video game industry was to inject big gay themes, commenting on a GLAAD report bemoaning the lack of gay characters in video games. Kenny said, I need to go ahead and show how crazy I am by making everybody gay at all times. There are so many gay developers, and we want what players want. Good stories, well-developed characters. No, where people want to stick their genitals, it's like, all right, bitch, go back to writing fanfic on your forums. Furthermore, these changes come as Insomniac Games revealed that they would not be creating any additional story content for Marvel's Spider-Man 2 in the wake of the game sales being over 50% worse than Marvel's Spider-Man. Yes, in a blog post on Marvel.com, Insomniac and Marvel Games shared, while we have no additional story content planned for Marvel's Spider-Man 2, we're delighted to bring all the previous release post-launch content to the PC version, which drops, I think it was January 31st when we last talked about this, including new game plus, new suits, and color variants, photo mode features, and a whole lot more. As noted above, the announcement comes in the wake of Sony revealing the Marvel's Spider-Man 2, so less than half of what Marvel's Spider-Man did. Exactly, so this kind of leads me to believe that there's a good chance that they could go ahead and change course on what made Spider-Man 2 just underperform so much. Yeah, it was locked to a console that is dying and has very little attachment rate. Like my favorite game of the year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, got my reference in. Ended up, we don't have firm numbers, and at this point in time, when it was first announced that it, underperformed sales expectations, I did my own rough calculations and figured out, what was it, between 2.5 and 3 million copies moved in the first month or two. And now at this point in time, I'm not entirely sure what we're dealing with here. But yeah, had there been, a day and date PC release, Spider-Man 2 might have done better. But also selling 11 million copies. 11 million copies. And that not being great for your franchise, or not being good for your, well, individual iteration into the franchise. That's not great when the budget is that high, and then when your previous success was over twice as successful as that, and that you ended up selling on par with the practical expansion that was the Miles Morales spinoff, a reduced price, just about launch title, the PS5. Not good. Really not good at all. So that's why some changes could be made for the better over at Insomniac, for the worse over at Crystal Dynamics and the Initiative in the form of the Perfect Dark game. So we'll just have to see. I'd imagine we might hear from either of these projects, the Wolverine game or from Perfect Dark, at the Game Awards. There's going to be a bunch of trailers at that Okie Circle jerk. So maybe we'll be able to figure out what exactly is going on with both of the projects. And we'll see if one got better, one got worse, or both ended up getting worse. Who knows, right? So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.